The invitation. The scorching Florida heat had already started to creep in by early May when 18-year-old Elliot Morgan stepped off the train at the sleepy station in Lanesboro. A quaint coastal town hidden behind mangrove trees and orange groves, Lanesboro was where Elliot would spend the next 3 months, far away from city noise, high school chaos, and the suffocating expectations of his father. He wasn't alone. A surprise invitation had arrived a week earlier from Aunt Clara, his mother's older sister. Elliot barely remembered her. Only a vague image of a free-spirited woman with long gray-streaked hair and laughter in her voice. The letter said she needed help tending to her bookstore while she recovered from foot surgery. His mom thought it was a great idea. His dad grunted and mumbled something about wasting summer in a dusty shack. But Elliot? He had said yes with more excitement than he cared to admit. He didn't tell anyone that Lanesboro held a secret for him, a secret that had lived quietly in his heart since he was 12. It was the one place he had once, by accident, seen his cousin Chloe perform in a local theater show, dressed in vintage gowns, corsets, makeup, and wigs. The night had never left him. That memory didn't make him feel confused. It made him feel awake. The House of Secrets. Aunt Clara's house sat above her bookshop, the dusty dahlia, with walls covered in old film posters, exotic curtains, and hanging strings of tiny golden lanterns. The moment he stepped inside, Elliot felt something shift. The house felt different. Not just older or stranger, but softer, warmer. Like it belonged to another era. Clara welcomed him with a hug, and beside her stood Chloe, now 20, taller, more graceful, and more stunning than he remembered. Her loose jeans and tank top hid little of her theater-sculpted posture. She gave him a sly smile and an oddly long look before saying, "You've grown up, but still look like you're hiding something." He laughed awkwardly, unsure how to answer. Maybe he was. The days that followed. The first few days passed in peace. Elliot helped in the bookstore, cataloging antique tomes, sweeping floors, and manning the counter, while Clara rested with her cast propped up on a velvet ottoman. In the evenings, they ate homemade curry and sipped sweet iced tea on the porch as Clara told stories from her acting days in New York. Chloe was a whirlwind, always dashing between part-time shifts and community theater rehearsals. She'd change clothes often, sometimes appearing in half costumes, heavy lashes still clinging to her eyelids. Each time Elliot saw her makeup table or rows of wigs lining the hall rack, something twisted in his stomach. Not envy, not shame, more like longing. The forbidden curiosity. One afternoon, Chloe left early for a dress fitting. Clara dozed off with a book on her lap in the sunroom. The house was silent except for the slow hum of the ceiling fan. Elliot wandered into Chloe's room. It wasn't planned. Or maybe it was. He didn't know anymore. Her room smelled of roses and stage powder. Posters from vintage drag shows and Shakespearean tragedies lined the walls. On the dresser lay a pale blue blouse, neatly folded next to a pair of high-waisted linen pants, delicate, ethereal, soft. His fingers moved before his mind could stop them. He tried on the blouse. It fit too well. The linen pants hugged his hips in ways that made him feel alarmed, but also beautiful. He stood in front of Chloe's full-length mirror. And for the first time, he didn't see Elliot. He saw someone else. The moment everything changed. "Wow," a voice behind him said.
He spun.
Chloe was standing in the doorway, one brow arched, her arms crossed. She wasn't angry. She wasn't even shocked. She was amused. "I knew it," she said with a grin that was part mischief, part wonder. "I knew there was something soft under that button-up shirt." Elliot stammered, cheeks on fire, heart racing. This isn't. I was just." Chloe raised a hand, silencing him. "Relax. You didn't ruin anything. You just answered a question I've been asking since you were 14. He blinked. "What question?" She stepped closer. "Whether you were brave enough to meet the person in the mirror." He had no answer. Just silence. And tears threatening to break through. Chloe picked up a brush and twirled it. "Want to see what she really looks like?" He nodded. A name in the mirror. The room was warm with late afternoon sunlight filtering through lace curtains. Chloe's fingers moved like a seasoned artist's as she brushed out a soft brown wig and laid it carefully on the vanity table. Elliot, still wearing Chloe's borrowed blouse and linen pants, sat stiffly on the edge of the bed, unsure whether to run or lean in. His heart was pounding, but for once, not with fear, with anticipation. Chloe turned to him, makeup brush in hand. "If you're gonna do this, we're gonna do it right." He laughed nervously. "I don't even know what this is." "You don't have to," she said gently. "You just have to be open." She started with foundation, explaining every step like a teacher and an older sister rolled into one. "Always use light dabs. Your skin's already smooth, so you're lucky." Elliot studied himself in the mirror as she worked. With each brushstroke, the boy he'd grown up seeing seemed to blur, and someone else peeked through. His jaw softened. His cheekbones rose. His eyes seemed brighter. There was vulnerability, yes, but also grace. Next came the wig. She positioned it slowly, adjusting the lace front, fluffing it gently, then stepped back. Elliot looked in the mirror and stared, not at a costume, not at a joke, at someone he didn't yet know, but already missed when he blinked. He couldn't find the words. Chloe crossed her arms. "She's beautiful, isn't she?" Yeah," he whispered. "She is." "Have you thought about a name?" That caught him off guard. "A name?" "For her." "You don't have to decide now. But maybe she deserves one. Someone you can talk to. Someone who's you, when no one else is watching." He hesitated, then smiled faintly. "Kira." Chloe grinned. "Kira. That fits. Bold, but dreamy. Aunt Clara knows more than she says." Later that night, Kira, though now back in Elliot's boy clothes, tiptoed through the hallway, mind still buzzing with emotion. What had started as a slip into Chloe's clothes had unlocked something she didn't want to bury again. When she reached the kitchen, she found Aunt Clara at the table with a cup of herbal tea and a cryptic smile. "You looked radiant this afternoon," Clara said without looking up. Elliot froze. "You saw?" "I saw enough," she said. "I've seen that look in the mirror myself, years ago. And in others too. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have." "Hush. You don't need to explain anything. This house, my house, is a sanctuary. We carry a lot of masks in life, but if here you finally found the courage to remove one, then I'm proud of you." He felt tears again. "I didn't mean for this to happen." "No one ever does," Clara said softly. "But it always finds those who are ready." A new challenge emerges. The next day, Chloe surprised Kira, with something unexpected, a flyer for the town's summer theater showcase. They're doing 12th night. Open editions. And guess what? Chloe smirked. Viola is the lead. Viola? As in, the girl who pretends to be a boy. Chloe winked. Exactly. Kira's eyes widened. That's a bit much. Or maybe, Chloe said, tapping the flyer. It's the perfect way to meet yourself. You don't even need to pretend to be Kira. You can become her while playing someone else. It was brilliant, terrifying, and deeply poetic. But just as Kira was starting to imagine herself under the stage lights, someone knocked at the front door. It was Asher, the new assistant Clara had hired for the bookstore. Tall, quiet, and with eyes that held too many unspoken stories. Kira had seen him once from behind the counter. He hadn't looked at Elliot twice. But when he glanced up now and saw her, he stopped. His gaze lingered. Clara introduced them. Asher, this is my niece, Kira. Asher blinked. Oh. I didn't know Clara had a niece. Chloe, standing behind, bit her lip to hide a smirk. Elliot's heart thudded in his chest. Because Asher had no idea. Lines between the lines. For the first time in her life, Kira was walking down Main Street not as Elliot in disguise, but as herself, fully, quietly, unmistakably. It wasn't just about the makeup or the wig, or even the way her borrowed sundress swayed just slightly with each step. It was in how she carried herself. Chloe walked beside her, playfully looping their arms. You're gonna kill it at that audition. I'm not even sure I'll show up, Kira said, laughing nervously. What if they recognize me? What if they laugh?
Chloe shook her head.
You think I'm helping you dress up just so people can laugh? No way. Kira, you've been hiding for years. This stage, it could be your moment to flip the script. Kira smiled, but her heart was doing backflips. Not only because of the audition, but because of Asher. Confessions in the bookstore. The next morning, Aunt Clara asked Kira to help in the bookstore. It was quiet for the first hour, until the bell above the door chimed softly. Asher. He walked in, hoodie half-zipped and earbuds dangling. Hey, he said, brushing hair from his forehead. Clara said I could grab a few of the new arrivals for the front table. Kira nodded, trying to look composed. She's in the back, sorting inventory. Asher gave her a second glance, longer this time. You look different than last time, he said. Yeah, Kira answered. That's kind of the point. He nodded slowly. I didn't mean it in a bad way. You look good. Happy. Kira blinked. This wasn't teasing. Or confusion. Or awkward curiosity. It was recognition. And yet, he didn't seem to realize who she used to be. Before she could say anything more, Asher asked, You going to the summer theater auditions? I heard they're casting tomorrow. Kira froze. He tilted his head. You'd be great. You've got a presence. Kira blinked. You think I should? Yeah, he said with a shrug. I think everyone should get a chance to tell their story, even if it's through someone else's. And with that, he walked toward the back, leaving Kira standing there stunned, holding a copy of 12th Night that suddenly felt heavier than before. The first curtain. Chloe helped her prep all evening. She ran lines with her, applied soft makeup, styled her wig into something more mature. Even Aunt Clara lent her a pair of delicate pearl earrings for luck. By the time they walked into the community center the next day, Kira's legs were jelly. There were maybe 20 people waiting to audition. Some were older, some younger. Most looked confident. None of them looked like her. The casting director called her name. Kira Summers? And she stepped forward into the spotlight. The monologue was simple. Viola, speaking to herself, reflecting on being mistaken for someone else. But when Kira delivered it, something shifted in the room.
She didn't act.
She felt. Disguise. I see thou art a wickedness, she whispered, eyes misting. For though I am not what I seem, I am more myself in this mask than I ever was barefaced. When she finished, the room was silent. And then applause. Scattered at first. Then sincere. She wasn't just good.
She was seen.
As Kira. Secrets began to crack. Later that night, Chloe and Kira lay side by side on Chloe's bed, scrolling through photos Chloe had sneakily taken during rehearsal. You're going to be amazing, Chloe whispered. I still don't know what I am, Kira admitted. Sometimes I feel like a fraud. Like I'm just playing dress up. Chloe turned toward her, serious now. You weren't acting on that stage today. You weren't pretending. You weren't Elliot in costume. You were Kira. And the world clapped for her. There was a knock on the door downstairs. Kira tensed. Chloe peeked through the window. It's Asher. Panic surged in Kira's chest. Don't let him in. What if he? But Chloe had already opened the door. Asher stepped inside, holding something wrapped in brown paper. Hey, he said awkwardly. I found this old copy of Orlando at the store. I thought you might like it. Kira blinked. Virginia Woolf? Yeah, he said, scratching the back of his neck. Thought it might resonate. There was something more behind his words. Something unsaid. And for the first time, Kira wondered if maybe she wasn't the only one with a secret. Unmasking the silence. The bookstore was quieter than usual the next morning, though Kira couldn't tell if that was the room or her own heartbeat. She kept turning the worn paperback of Orlando over in her hands. Inside the cover, Asher had scribbled a note. To those who shapeshift and survive. Kira's fingers trembled, not just because of what he'd written, but because of what she hadn't yet told him. Chloe had noticed the tension. You like him, don't you? She said over breakfast, raising an eyebrow as she stirred her cereal. Kira gave her a flat look. I don't even know if he knows who I am.
He knows who you are, Chloe said.
I just don't think he knows who you used to be.
Kira flinched at that.
Because he didn't. And that silence, once protective, now felt dangerous. The cast list. The bulletin board outside the community center was packed with kids reading the summer theater casting results. Kira hesitated on the edge of the crowd until Chloe spotted it first. "Kira," she shouted. "You got the lead." Kira blinked. "Viola." Viola/Cesario. It's like you're playing both ends of yourself. The excitement was genuine, but it was short-lived. Someone behind them scoffed. "Figures." It was Lana Marrow, a senior drama queen with enough Instagram followers to mistake popularity for talent. "I thought they were casting a real girl," Lana said, arms folded, eyes cutting sharp. "Not some community theater sympathy project." Chloe started to charge forward, but Kira grabbed her wrist. "Don't." Lana smirked.
What?
"Don't want her friend finding out you used to be Elliot? Pretty sure Asher will love that story." Kira's blood froze. Echoes from home. The house phone rang that night. Clara answered, and her voice faltered. "Yes, she's here, but who's calling?" A pause. Then Clara looked at Kira with wide eyes. "It's your father." Kira felt her entire world tilt. "What?" "He's back in town. He says he wants to talk."
Talk?
What was there to talk about? He hadn't called in 3 years. Not after she stopped going by Elliot. Not after the letters she sent. Not after he stopped returning them. She left the room without answering. Clara didn't stop her. The showdown at twilight. The sun was low and golden when Kira found herself at the playground, the one from her childhood, pushing herself slowly on a swing. It was empty. Quiet. Like the silence before a storm. Then Asher appeared. He walked slowly, hands in his pockets. He didn't speak right away. Just sat in the swing beside her. "You all right?" he asked.
She didn't answer.
Instead, Kira took a long breath and whispered, "Do you remember Elliot?" Asher turned toward her.
Yeah.
Quiet kid. Always had a book. Used to sit in the back of English class. She nodded. "That was me," she said quietly. "Elliot was me. I'm Kira now." The silence that followed was so sharp it could have broken glass. Asher looked at her, eyes widening slightly, but not in disgust, just in understanding. "I kind of figured," he said finally. "When I saw you at the audition, it wasn't just your voice. It was your eyes. You looked like someone who'd just stepped out of a war and into sunlight." Tears welled up, but Kira laughed. "That's the weirdest compliment I've ever gotten." "Not a compliment," he said. "Just the truth." Then he reached out, not to kiss her, not to grab her hand, but just placed his palm gently over hers. She exhaled, and something in her chest finally loosened. The letter on the desk. Back at Clara's house, there was an envelope on her desk. Her name was scrawled across the front. Kira. Inside was a letter. "I know I don't deserve forgiveness. But I also know I was wrong. I let pride get in the way of my child's truth. And if you'll let me, I'd like to meet the real you, face to face, and not through old photographs I don't recognize anymore."
Love, Dad.
Kira stared at the paper until her eyes blurred. The past wasn't gone. But maybe, just maybe, she could rewrite it. The spotlight and the shadow. Rehearsals started the next morning. Kira wore a soft lavender blouse and loose gray trousers, trying not to stand out, which was ironic, considering she was cast as the lead. The community center stage smelled faintly of old curtains and newer paint, a place that had seen hundreds of young performers stumble through identity before her. But none of them were doing what she was doing, stepping on stage not just as Viola but as herself. Asher smiled at her across the room. Chloe gave her a playful thumbs up. The director, Mr. Watkins, clapped his hands. "Let's get started, people." Performing arts, the first scene. Kira took center stage. She read her lines as Viola, lost on the shores of Illyria, assuming the identity of a man named Cesario to survive. "I am not what I am," she whispered in character. The line struck her in the chest like an arrow. The room was quiet when she finished the monologue. Mr. Watkins clapped slowly. "Excellent, Kira. You brought something very real into that." She smiled, a flicker of pride warming her spine, until Lana muttered just loud enough from the wings. "Well, that's easy." She's had plenty of practice pretending. Chloe stiffened beside her. Asher started to rise. But Kira lifted her chin and turned around, voice cool and clear. Some of us aren't pretending. We're just becoming. Lana froze. So did the room. Mr. Watkins arched a brow, but said nothing. The silence hung in the air like judgment, and then dissolved when he nodded and moved on. Envelope, a door left ajar. Kira stared at the letter again that night, rereading the words her father had written. There was no return address. Just a time. Sunday, 3 p.m. Mapleview Park. Do you want me to come? Clara asked from the doorway.
Kira shook her head. No.
I think I need to do this alone. Her voice didn't shake.
Her hands didn't either.
But her heart? That was another story. Deciduously, the man on the bench. Mapleview Park had once been her father's favorite spot. Back when she was Elliot, back when they'd fish by the pond or argue about baseball stats while throwing breadcrumbs to ducks. Now, as Kira approached the wooden bench, she almost didn't recognize him. Grayer.
Smaller.
But his eyes, still that weathered blue. He stood when he saw her. They stared at each other for a long time. Then he said, voice scratchy but certain, I never knew how to say I was sorry. Kira stepped closer. I didn't come for your apology, she said. I came for my truth. He looked away. You look like her. Kira paused. Mom?
No.
Like you. The one you were always hiding under everything else. I think I saw glimpses, but I ignored them.
She didn't speak.
She let him flounder, not out of cruelty, but out of earned distance. Do you hate me? He finally asked. Kira sighed. I did, she admitted. But that wasn't helping me become who I am. She sat beside him. Not close. Not far. Somewhere in between. The curtain rises. Opening night came faster than expected. The auditorium buzzed with parents, friends, curious neighbors, and in the front row sat Clara, Asher, and her father. Kira peeked out from the wings, heart pounding. The moment had arrived. She was dressed in full costume, doublet, tights, long tunic. And under all that, a chest wrapped not to hide, but to reshape. Hair braided, face soft with careful makeup, her entire body humming like a wire stretched just tight enough to sing. Ready? Chloe whispered. Kira nodded. Let them see you. Glowing star, the final monologue. Kira stepped forward, the spotlight warming her cheeks. She was supposed to deliver Viola's final speech, the moment of unveiling, of truth. But instead of reciting the lines, she paused, looked at the audience, and said, I know this isn't in the script, but tonight you're not just meeting Viola. Or Cesario.
You're meeting me. Gasps.
Murmurs. My name is Kira, and for a long time I wore roles that never fit. But this is mine. She let the silence linger, then stepped back into character, and into the final lines. Rainbow after the applause. The crowd roared. She wasn't sure if it was for the acting or the confession, maybe both. Clara hugged her so tightly backstage, she couldn't breathe. Asher kissed her forehead gently. Her father simply said, I'm proud of you. She didn't know where they'd go next. But for the first time, she wasn't afraid of mirrors. Because she'd already stepped through them. Cyclone the end for now.